expect Casey to try to put a little something extra on the slider here.
Sun comes out from behind a cloud, and suddenly we have sunshine covering the infield. A 1-2 pitch to the plate. Swing and a miss! He struck him out! He struck him out! He struck him out! Aggies are going to the College World Series.
All right, howdy. Welcome back to another edition of the RedAss Podcast Mobile Edition. You are being hosted by Rob White, fighting Texas Aggie Classic 2014.
Who happens to be smoking a fine cigar and enjoying things. Sometimes life isn't so rough. And this is Roy May, fighting Texas Aggie Classic 2015, enjoying an outside nice breeze, but something that hopefully won't rain on my yard so I can mow it here shortly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of keeping an eye on it. We should be okay, but I mean, it's a pretty day outside, very spring-like, and Lord knows we've got plenty to talk about after this past week.
Well, what are the spring sports, right? And not this year, obviously, because volleyball is playing in the spring, but
right. You know.
The diamonds, spring is for diamonds, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're going to try and keep this in line the way we did it last time, and we'll do softball first, which
once again, I defer to your expertise on that.
Well, and relatively speaking to this past weekend's events, I think maybe we'll start with softball. Who had a rough weekend? Don't get me wrong.
Oh, sure, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, they got swept by Alabama, and Alabama is, probably one of the best programs in the past 15 years in the nation. And again, they're number 4 in the nation now. They have powerhouse hitting, they have powerhouse pitching, and they got run ruled twice. They got swept. They got run ruled twice. The Sunday game, they got run ruled in. They were in it, and it just kind of fell apart. I thought, or excuse me, the Saturday game. I thought the Thursday game, I thought they were in it for a bit.
Oh yeah, no doubt they were.
Yeah, softball keeps coming up with these, and again, you are staring down the barrel of Alabama softball, and late in the game, you are able to string together runs and put them on the ropes. So, and we'll talk about the trajectory relative to the two, programs, but getting swept at Alabama it could be worse.
Well, I mean, it's expected, that's kind of what we thought coming in was probably going to be the case.
Yeah. If you can nick one, right?
Right. If you can nick
one. So they were 24th when they showed up. They are now 34th, depending on which ranking you look at, which I feel like it's moderately unfair to the drop, because I feel like a lot of people that do rankings look at scores and not the games. And I watch the games.
But yes, that is true. However, the rankings do tend to balance themselves out, even in situations like that. If you get swept, but then you come around and be strong next weekend and the weekend after that, then you'll climb right back up to where you were.
Right.
But definitely, of the course of this particular weekend, though, I think it's fair.
I think it's fair in the sense that 2 of the games were run rules. But again, if you watch the games, despite the actual run rule outcomes, I honestly, you had them kind of right at the fence, and they just kind of slipped away. And so I think what's exciting for Aggie softball, this is a rebuild year. We have a bunch of young, kids. We've got, one of our pitchers is a true freshman, Grace Uribe. Mackenzie Herzog didn't look like herself this weekend. She did at the plate, but then we go back to talking about, offensively, what do you have? And Shaylee Ackerman has turned into a power threat. I mean, she just keeps knocking balls out of the park.
More like, was it Hackerman is the nickname everyone's going with right now?
Yeah. Well, it should be Blasterman. She's just, right. I mean, she's not just, scraping them over the top of the fence.
Right.
And Haley Lee is still Haley Lee. But what you like to see is, in a bit of the failed comeback you saw, we got some other names in the lineup, and they made some key hits, and they moved they moved runners around the bases. And, how do you score? pod to pod, man, right? Get
Mhm.
ducks around, get ducks on the pond, and then move them around. So I thought what we saw out of Aggie softball, despite the outcome of the weekend, because look, I love everything Aggie sports,
Yeah.
which includes Aggie softball, but none of us were expecting Aggie softball to win a national championship. But
Right.
if you look past just the score line for Aggie softball this weekend, I thought it was something kind of very encouraging. It don't feel bad. You're not going to be the first, nor will you be the last, team to go into Tuscaloosa and get swept. But what they showed in some fight and what they showed with it's untimely errors. It's just an unfortunate hung pitch.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want to take anything away from Alabama softball. I mean, they're top, number 4 in the country, and it wouldn't surprise me to see them in UCLA battling it out for the title. But I think there's still, despite the outcomes, again, look at the games. I think there's a ton of upward trajectory for Aggie softball, especially considering it's a rebuilding year and a young team. And I know they're young, but if you can produce, this next stretch of games will be big. Did you get beat down mentally and physically at Alabama? Can you bounce back? I think they can. I think what we've seen and what we really saw in Tuscaloosa was the willingness to fight, when just staring a run rule in the face, and just the willingness to go fight, and Joe Evans making substitutions and some pinch hitters to see if we could get something going, just shake things up in the lineup. And so it's like every sport. If you don't produce, don't expect to start. And if you're not producing when you start, don't expect to stay in. And Joe made those tough decisions because, again, a team is a family, coaches, team, assistants, all of it. But either produce or sit. And I thought Joe made some of those decisions that maybe last year I didn't see as much. I think I thought overall as a softball program, Texas A&M softball program, and it's weird. I get it. We got swept. I liked what I saw in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some things from that. Of course, my opinion when it comes to youth. I mean, here's the deal: you're going to have youth every year. There's always going to be young. There's always going to be that. At some point, you got to see production. I'm not taking this from a negative standpoint by any means. I think it would have been nice to have scraped one out, especially considering how tight some of those games were at points. But I think that does come down to lack of experience and honestly lack of really experienced depth at the pitching position. It'll get there.
Yeah, and in softball and baseball, obviously you have to have a clear one and at least a well above average number 2 to compete nationally.
Oh yeah.
In softball you have to have it because a good pitcher can throw 3 games in a 5-game series. Again, it's a fatigue issue. It's a different pitching motion. So, well, yeah, I would have loved to see them nick one, but at the same time, having that true youth, in Tuscaloosa, not only getting that experience, but not producing enough to win. And again, I know this is going to sound like sugarcoating. Look, they got swept. That's all there is to it. I mean, they're what, a 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're 10 out of 13, in the standings for softball, but eight of the top 25 in softball is from the SEC. So really, there's 2 teams ahead of them, maybe, that aren't ranked. So you're talking about going to Tuscaloosa. Think of it, in football manners, and you have rookie Kenny Hill, and you have your left tackle is maybe a redshirt sophomore or freshman.
Yeah,
And so
please, for the love of God, don't remind me of 2014. I was there. I don't remember anything past 35-0. We were sitting there like, they were selling drinks. They're called Yellow Hammers, and we were getting yellow hammered because there was nothing else better to do.
I was there. Don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of that is understanding that what you have on the field. And to an extent, I kind of like this parallel. That was miserable. I was there, and just for the hell of it, we were doing beat the hell yells. 4 minutes left in the fourth, and we were down 1-0 and
Felt like
and
it.
and
Yep.
and I love A&M and I love the lore and everything, but boy, we didn't run out of time that weekend.
No, that was
But
one of those seen them lose, seen them win kind of. Yeah, no, they didn't even bother showing up kind of deals.
yeah,
But I mean,
but what we saw this weekend out of the Aggie softball team was they didn't quit. In run rule
no,
games,
they
they
didn't.
did not quit. They kept making the changes, and one of the biggest complaints we'll all have, no matter what sport we follow. If we have a manager or a coach that's been there for forever, we're like, man, they're just not making the necessary changes at the right time, right? We don't put in the subs right. We don't. In Premier League, we don't change the formation. We don't set up properly. We don't do this. We don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I saw Joe Evans, who's been there, been here at A&M for what 23 years,
Mm-hmm.
I saw her make changes in Tuscaloosa in an attempt to win, not to salvage. And I'm not saying Joe normally doesn't make changes because she wants to salvage, make things look pretty. But Joe was out there still trying to win, and
Sure.
she was, and she's always there to win, but she was putting trust in some players that she doesn't distrust, she doesn't trust, she doesn't know, but she threw him out there. And I love that. And so there were a lot of players that in Tuscaloosa got some experience. It's not playoff experience, but man, you playing in Tuscaloosa, it's close because you're playing one of the best teams in the country and they got a good home field advantage. And so despite the outcome, I still like where Aggie softball is. I really
Who's
do.
who's up next?
Hold on. Making me switch screens here. Rude.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm just curious at this point. I mean, you got to know what's really kind of
Yeah,
on
so
the docket
so
here in a little
tomorrow it's
bit.
at Texas State, just like baseball travels to Sam, right? Like we're both going to play a little fun in-state away game.
Right.
And then we have Auburn at home the following weekend.
Right. So, I mean, a couple of series coming in, and they're going to be, well, at least a series that you think is winnable. So, the fingers crossed, we'll see what happens from that.
Well, Auburn is 1-8 in conference, and don't get me wrong, I'm not sure who they play, but we haven't played slop, and we're sitting at 4-5, and that was
Right.
after a sweep in Tuscaloosa. So you like to think that you win the Auburn series, and then again, you're probably Auburn is one of 3 teams below us in the standings, so you figure it's like SEC baseball. Every weekend is a complete just grinder. So the weekends that you get that aren't grinders, you have to
Mhm.
take advantage of. And with that, I'm going to let you take over the baseball weekend.
Okay. So, we can go ahead and start with, very similarly to what we saw previous week. You're talking, we went 2-2 for the second week in a row, but you felt a lot better after the previous 2-2 versus this 2-2. Unfortunately, you go in and you have an absolutely wonderful game against Texas. You beat them 2-0. A top level top 10 team, shut them out, and really looked pretty good doing it. I mean, obviously the offense wasn't quite there, but you saw the rebound of the offense that next game against Missouri. You end up beating them 16-2, right? Absolutely blew them up. It
Fireworks.
was incredible.
Fireworks.
I got to watch that game. That's the only game of the series I actually had a chance to watch because I was road dogging it. But the trouble was, all of a sudden, we turn around and just everything fell apart. Pitching wasn't there. The bats disappeared. I
But
mean, I think we probably could have saved. I mean, I hate that people say this stuff, but save some of those runs for those other games you're going to need. Man, it's
Rob,
frustrating. It is
Rob,
so
you
frustrating.
you complete me because I didn't get to watch the first game, but I watched the other 2. So
So
we
it's all your
watched
fault. What I'm hearing.
well, you didn't watch the other 2, so it's kind of your fault too.
Well, potentially yes. So here's the deal.
Oh
So
boy.
unfortunately, you have yourself in a Missouri series now that you lost, which was not a series you should have lost, and frankly, bad team. I mean, honestly, this is the exact same situation as what we had with Xavier. Just the only difference is we did what we needed to do Friday as opposed to Sunday against Xavier. So now comes really not the question because we get it. At this point, the boys, it's pretty clear. We've been around the program long enough to know that things are not where they need to be. And the conversations that were being had before are now being had again, which is the likelihood of having Rob Childress on, on staff at the end of the year, probably not going to be the case. You know,
Well, I mean, we're not going to fire him. He's just going to run out of contract.
exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like he
Well,
is, it's almost a perfect situation for that because it literally is the end of a contract. We don't have to renew it.
except for the fact that there comes a portion of program stability where the kids that are coming in. Do they really look? Rob is a phenomenal human being. I really love
Oh,
Rob
we
Childress.
absolutely, we love him.
But if he recruited you and you love him and he leaves, were you committed to playing for Rob or were you committed to playing for Texas A&M? And that's a fair question though.
It is a fair question. Here's the deal: anytime you see a change in leadership, you're going to see people leave. It just happens. I mean, you saw. I mean, Logan Foster took off from A&M to follow Bolt whenever he went over to Nebraska. So it's an inevitable part of the game and something you have to figure out. Now,
Man,
at
and
this
I love Logan, but that was weird.
he's from Nebraska. I get it. Maybe be a little bit closer to home for that. However, we are now sitting at a point where there will be a conversation had, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about it when it comes around. So I'm not going to get into it now. But this past weekend was, I mean, really disappointing. And I really can't say anything else other than that. You got to go on the road and you got to think this is a business trip. You're playing at Missouri. You're not really having to deal with any kind of hostile environment. You're literally playing in front of like the worst SEC crowd you're going to have to face, and you lay an egg 2 days in a row. Like you don't rebound from game two. You just laid an egg, and that's not acceptable for this program.
Well, you laid 2 eggs.
I'm saying you laid the egg again. I mean, you already laid one egg.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm
Yes,
telling you, like that Sunday, completely unacceptable. We needed to win that game.
well, and that's honestly that was the phrase I was hoping you would get to. Disappointing isn't really the word. It was completely unacceptable.
It's
And and
unacceptable.
I think that's really the crux of it is it's not just that the pitching is bad, but at least our hitting and fielding sucks too. It's
Now,
it's
yeah, I
it's
mean,
it's such a combination of things. And I heard an interview from one of the assistants, and there was a question asked. It wasn't a super hard crazy question, but it also wasn't like being a super jerk question. It was, hey, what about this or that? And there was a point in it I heard him say, well, I don't know. Well, you get paid to know.
no,
And
you're paid
so
to know.
and and I get it. Like what they asked him, honestly, he may not know, but that's not the answer you give. You never, in a position of leadership, you never say, I don't know. You
You
say,
need to have some kind of stock answer, right? I mean,
it,
something.
I would rather that, because if you say you don't know, then why don't you just start polishing up your resume? Because if you don't know, then why are you here? Like, why are you in charge of a certain aspect of the game when you can't tell or see or things and you just don't know? So, and I know and I get it. Like that sounds like such a jerk statement because they're humans, but man, this human doesn't get paid to help them. So when I don't know, it's not a big deal, but when they don't know, they get paid to know. And one of my biggest concerns is I heard all the post game and post series interviews, and it's just the same blah coach crap. And at some point you have to wonder, are you going to own up to it and be like, look, this has got to change, this has got to change? Or is it, yeah, well, I thought the pitching was good here and there and the hitting was okay in spots, blah blah blah, and hats off to the Friday starter? No, man, you're paid to win. So are you either mailing it in, or I mean, what are you doing? I was so upset about the Missouri series.
Oh yeah, me too.
And all the right, not you, Rob, but the Rob
Sure.
Childress apologists, at some point you've got to stop and just take a look around, man. And I'm not even referring to the no Omaha wins. You have a program that has everything at its disposal, and we're sitting here looking like doo doo, like straight trash. And I'm
Well,
not going to. And you know what? Hold on. I'm sorry. One more thing I don't want to hear. Well, that's baseball. Okay. Well, if we're going to say that's baseball, then us beating Texas is baseball because the rest of this is par for the course this year.
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you look at where we're kind of sitting as a program. And the thing is, it has certainly shown a bit of a downward trajectory. When you brought in Rob Childress as a coach years ago, did he bring the program into a spot where it was better than where it was? Sure. You had facility improvements. You had a couple of Omaha trips out of the deal, several super hostings. I mean, you were in regionals virtually every year except for the first one and probably the last one. But you were at a point where you had built up this program to a point where it is a top level program and a desirable place to go. And unfortunately, having seen the trajectory of where it's sitting, it may not be at that same point than when he came in if things continue to trend down. And the reason why I say that is you look at the recruiting, which is the other half of the battle. Even if we're
Ding,
winning,
ding,
right,
ding.
right, we're winning, sure. And then all of a sudden this year we're not. And the recruiting hasn't really been there. You don't have that dominant pitching. You don't have the gorilla bats like you had in 15 and 16. So now you're sitting here on the backside, wondering to yourself, what the heck are we going to do? Because this is not a 1 year deal. When
No.
Rob leaves, we're probably going to see 2 or 3 years minimum of less than ideal. And we're not going to be happy. We're probably going to miss a tournament. We're probably going to lose series we're not supposed to lose to. It's going to be a transition period. It's not going to be a hire a coach and he's going to come in here and just be the bee's knees right out the gate.
But I think baseball fans are more patient because the game in and of itself is a slower game. It's a patient game. Baseball fans will be patient more so than really any sport that Aggies see. And I get it. Look, I get Aggie baseball fandom. However, comma, I do believe that baseball fans understand it because it's a slower sport. I'll talk about recruiting though. The one thing I want to talk about is just it's not impressive to bring in the top recruits in the country when they all sign major league contracts. That gets you nowhere.
And
It,
that is unfortunately been a very long standing thing with Rob Childress teams. If you've looked in the
man,
past,
look at the
it's been
pitcher
very
that I
common.
got. Yeah, look at the pitcher I got committed. Now he pitches for the Royals or the Reds or like that. What does that do me for Aggie baseball at
Or
Olson?
or the Dodgers. I mean,
Yeah,
Clayton Kershaw, right?
the Doyers gross, puke, gross. But
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 again,
he was an A&M recruit. I mean, that's exactly the problem. You recruited guys that were big names, but they were never going to make campus, and that's the problem.
they were never going to make any campus. So
No,
I think I don't know if you sent me the link or I saw it on TexAgs. It's they talked to a couple of high level coaches in the SEC and they weren't named, but they all hit it. They're like it's weird because you have to. It's a challenge to recruit properly. You can recruit one or two of the top guys and really super hope that he wants to be an engineer, but you have to focus on guys who are like, round 20, 25, 30 or later
yeah,
who could benefit from being in college. So and all I see and again, this isn't a personal attack on Rob Childress, but
no,
what I've seen over the years is him recruiting these just ace arms because Rob's a pitching guy, right? Rob's a
yeah,
pitching guy, and if we couldn't do anything else, we could always pitch. But he keeps going after these guys that there's no chance they land in college, much less the college that you're currently recruiting to. And then you're left with just what's left over. And when you can't dominate in pitching in a program that is very specifically run by a pitching coach, he keeps just trying to hire hitting guys, but hitting isn't. It's a It's a philosophy. It's not a technique. If they don't have the technique at this point, it's too late. It's a philosophy. They know how to swing. They should already know how to swing the bat when they get here. They should already know how to move the ball, to the opposite side of the field. You ain't gotta go oppo taco dingers, but you need to know how to put the barrel on the bat effectively, and that's what we've lacked for Lord knows how long.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, just knowing every part of the game, talking about batting, we've got guys that can hit, they can go yard. We've seen it happen this year. I mean, Will Frizzell's looked good. I mean, Ryan Targott, went deep twice
And
in
we
the
pulled him.
loss.
And we pulled
You
him.
know, and the thing is, I know, but and once again, coaching decisions, right? I mean, we can go down the list on that, but
Let's not.
let's not. So, I mean, what I'm gonna do is just say at this point in time, I mean, you look at other aspects of the game that we struggle at. For me, bunting. We can't bunt to save our lives.
Which is
We
crazy because RC is a bunting the dude over kind of guy.
I
Like,
mean, RC when he came into A&M took a Big 12 mindset, which if you remember Big 12, especially in about 2000, we were a bunt heavy conference. We weren't going yard. We were
small ball.
we were small ball, and small ball's okay. But
If
when
it
you're in
works.
the if it works and you're not in the SEC, because the SEC has gorilla arms. The SEC's got major league level pitching, and we're just not up to that level of competition. Now, that being said, if looking at the West is absolutely dog crap, especially in the bottom half. Both divisions are really top heavy. But there's no reason we should have been losing to Missouri. That's the whole crux of this.
Well, and that's my biggest problem. It's not how the West looks or where we can finish. This was of all the weekends, the one to take advantage of, and we got taken advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, you put up 16 runs in the first game and then kind of fired it off the next two, and that's not acceptable.
Yeah,
So as we move forward, there's going to be conversations had. We don't necessarily have to have it here until the official announcements are made.
it's not
But
our job.
there's not our job. Rob Childress is going to finish out this year. Whether he makes the postseason or not via tournament is irrelevant at this point, because even if you make the tournament and you go on a run, it doesn't change the fact that you haven't had the recruiting behind it.
Well, and I think that's one of the most disturbing parts behind this is it's not. Let's say we go on a run, whether it's the tournament or really we just start running through weekend series. I mean, right on. But the talent isn't there, and this is a talent heavy sport like every other sport in Division One. And this. I hate to tell you that, this isn't like the movies. This isn't Mighty Ducks where you get a bunch of underdogs and you accidentally win. This is like you either have the talent to win or you don't. You really think anybody, I mean, thank goodness we don't have Vanderbilt in the schedule. Because I guarantee you we'd get no hit 2 games and lose
potentially
this year.
Twice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know that it's a knock on the players. I don't know that's a knock on hitting. I personally, I think it's a knock on all of it combined, because if you have talent, then you can teach them the approach. But my problem is, and I don't, again, we talked about, let's not sound the alarms, man. My finger has already hit the button at this point. We lost a series to Missouri, and I don't care if it was on the moon, much less Columbia, Missouri.
Right. And for me,
and it looks bad.
Well, and it looks bad. And the problem is, it pains me. Like, this isn't me just going off and being angry or frustrated. I mean, it hurts because, this is statistically what we've seen. This is probably the worst Texas A&M team I've ever seen in baseball. It just is.
Here's a good phrase for you, because I understand pain in certain sports. You know what this is? This is not Aggie baseball.
No, it's not. I mean, you think about Texas A&M baseball, it's dominant pitching, making the bats work, getting to regionals, potentially getting to supers, but that's A&M baseball, and they grind it out and they make it happen, and we're not seeing that.
Yeah, and it's and that's the thing. Like, if two aspects of the game isn't working, A&M weirdly finds one the third aspect. If you're fielding like crap and you're hitting like crap, the pitching shuts it down. Or just pick your poison. It's just disappointing to see really such a huge drop off. And I get that we lost some arms, but I mean,
we didn't lose really a ton in the bat. I mean, you only lost really Zach DeLoach.
If you're a baseball player and you are a Division I scholarship baseball player, specifically at Texas A&M, I expect you to field at a much higher clip than what feels like 34%, because there have been so many boots and garbage, and it's so tough to watch. Honestly, the fielding it may be the most depressing part of it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is unfortunate,
man. And honestly, if you can't hit, you can't pitch. Good Lord, field the ground ball. And I watched a lot of it. I have all the subscriptions this year, so I can see every game. And there have been some unfortunate errors from some people that shouldn't be making those errors. And I don't care about the classification. I don't. Because baseball is a straight from high school to pro sport. So if you go to college, you should have the kind of skills that keep you from making those mistakes. Mm-hmm. Like in softball, I see some boots, but I mean, these girls are 18, 19 years old, and there's no straight to pro option, maybe for like two people, in the pro softball league that exists, which is a side job for most, world dominating softball players. They either play for they play for the country, and they get to play in the pro league, but, just
it's not the same as majors,
No, there's no like minor league system. There's no farm club system in softball. Either you can go pro or you go to college. And I'm starting to think, and I love baseball for what it is. I love the farm club thing, but I'm starting to think that if you keep allowing kids to go straight from high school to the farm club, you may as well get rid of college baseball. I mean, honestly, because it's the kids that weren't good enough, and will they ever be good enough? And then we get to watch like this level that's lower than AAA baseball. And I get that they can hone their skills in college, but the more that we glorify and kind of blow up the minor league baseball system, which don't get me wrong, going to minor league baseball games is fun as hell.
Oh, they're a blast. Yeah.
But I mean, what are they learning in college? Because if you couldn't field and then you go to college and you can't field, then what are you getting a scholarship for? You can't hit, you can't field. And I get it. That people will have off games and this and that, but we're far enough into the season where these are not off games. These are patterns of conduct, and it's brutal.
It's a reality at this point. We know we know what this team is, and we know what the pitching staff looks like. We know what the fielding looks like. We know what the hitting looks like, and of course, most importantly of all, we know what the coaching looks like. And so we've been around this program long enough to know what's going to happen in key situations. There's going to be bonehead decisions. There's going to be boneheaded decisions at the plate. There's going to be boneheaded everything, and unfortunately, that's just where we're at. Well, so we got to wash our hands of it. But that's unfortunately not going to happen until, June.
No. Oh, look, none of us.
We're good.
Dogs are freaking out.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. But, that's unfortunately where we're at, man. I mean, we've been keeping up with the games, and I've been watching the boys, and I'm pretty excited about it coming in, and thought, hey, this will just be like another 17. This will be like another year where we lost parts and pieces, but man, we're just not quite there right now. And so we just got to do what we got to do, which is, be supportive best we can. And when there's a chance, and I mean a big chance, to get everything moving in the right direction, we got to do it. So, that's where we got to roll. The boys, we love them. We want them to do well, but we also have to face reality.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that we have to look at is going back to what we talked about weeks ago. What's the identity of this team? And I think the only identity they have left is just scrapping.
Mm-hmm.
Like just finding a way to scrap out games and put series together, because we're not a power hitting team.
We do have some big hitters. We really do. They're just not in points when we've had people on base.
Yeah, we're not power hitters as a team. Like, we're not just going to outscore people, So we don't hit well with runners in scoring position, though. That's not just this year. And unfortunately, this year
that's been a problem for a long time. Yeah,
as long as I can remember. And the one thing that's always saved us, which may not save us this year, is the pitching.
And that doesn't seem to be saving grace this season. So,
yeah, I'm gonna keep watching Aggie baseball. I'm gonna.
Me too.
Keep hoping for him to win. And again, it's baseball. So maybe you hope that we can figure out a way to string some series wins together against teams that maybe we shouldn't. But I think the reality is very clear that this is, I don't think it's a lost season. It's not like we're going to lose out or anything, but I think it's just going to be it's going to test some Aggie baseball fans. Yeah, it really is.
It's going to test. It really will. I mean, you're going to see a lot of people that that got really hot with the program back in 16 and 17. Well, and 15, when people really started jumping on the train, you're going to see a lot of those people fall off the train. And so the rest of us that are going to stick around and love it, we're going to be around for what's going to be these difficult games and these difficult seasons. But it's going to improve. It will get better. It's just going to have to be developed. Whatever the coaching staff is, whatever it looks like here in the next couple seasons, we're going to have to trust that they're going to do this thing the right way. And that's about all we can do.
Yeah, and again, we've said this a handful of times across the board, not just Aggie baseball. So far, Ross Bjork has given me zero reason to not trust him. So I think, given, and again, we're not firing Rob. His contract's just running out. Rob's contract is going to run out of time, but that's a bit of a lame duck kind of scenario for recruiting. However, you just got to make the decision. And I think there were a lot of factors before this weekend that could have been used this way or that way, just kind of pro con. Do we keep? Do we, it kind of reminds me of Sumlin. I think we talked about this before. You can only fire so many assistants before it's kind of you.
Well, so the Missouri game for me was exactly what UCLA was in 17. Like, that was kind of like, this is what told me that this is where we're at and this is where the life's going to be. So I don't think we really need to dig much further on into this.
I do want to say one more thing though, like the UCLA game. I think it was the Friday more than it was the Saturday game. You had a terrible pitcher shut you down.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's that weekend was UCLA because we started off hot and then we blew it at the end when it counted.
Yeah, I mean, what's his name? Halverson? Like, the kid can pitch, but it was very clear that his control's not there and his ERA was through the roof and he just shut us down. So I think
inexcusable.
And so Saturday kind of sealed the deal. But
regardless, at this point, I've said what I need to say on it.
Oh, I love Aggie baseball. That doesn't change.
I love Aggie baseball. Nothing's changed.
No.
What's been said, It'll be we will see the change when it needs to happen. But right now, we just got to go out there and make the best of the weekends. You got Alabama this weekend. Go win it.
Well, yeah. Well, I tell you what, you got at Sam Houston tomorrow night. So that's step one.
Go win it. Yep, go win it.
Step one to righting the ship, at least a little bit, is at Sam tomorrow.
Yep.
And again, I hate the phrase, but it's baseball. I mean, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah. Do you need to buy the chicken or me? I don't know.
No, I'd say we'll whatever it is, make sure it's not the fried chicken. It's got to be a live one.
Yeah, I think you and I are more suited for bringing Jobu's rum.
I'm about to say, yeah, let's go get Jobu's some rum. We'll be good. So that's it for the baseball for me.
quick heads up to India Jones, selected for yet another national accolade. She
That's
declared
good
for
for
the
her.
WNBA draft, but yeah, she's one of, I think, 4 players that got selected for 3 separate All-American selections.
Cool.
So again, Aggie women's basketball. I said it. I'm looking forward to seeing what Gary can do between what he's got and maybe the transfer portal, because even next year will still be kind of the follow-ons of the COVID transfer and this and that and blah
Right.
blah blah. So
Yep. And then at this point, I'm not sure if you saw the little quick football news. Obviously, spring practice got kicked off. Things are looking okay. Antonio Cromartie just got brought onto the
yeah,
staff.
I saw that. Yeah, old
That's
San
cool.
Diego Charger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he legit dude. If you don't know anything about Antonio Cromartie, look up his career. He was, I think he was all pro a couple
Yeah,
times,
he was
wasn't
a dude. He was an
he? Yeah,
absolute dude.
I would be willing to bet he is still a dude.
Oh, he's a dude, and he's gonna be great for recruiting. So that's
He
gonna be
is.
cool to have too.
Well, in development, honestly, he's just
Oh yeah.
across the board how he played. It's not like his first gig as a coach, I would think. So
No, so it's gonna be cool to have Coach. Yeah, Coach Cromartie on staff. That's really cool. So
I know all of a sudden it's spring ball time, right?
I know it's quick. Normally, I'm not liking to jump into spring ball before baseball's over, but
Well, a man can change, not change, but you can shift.
he can adapt.
Yeah,
So,
adapt and overcome, man. Shoot,
Yeah.
move, communicate. You'll be good.
right. So, personal stuff, good stuff, band stuff.
Please, I was gonna say, please talk about the show. Please talk about that show or shows. It looked
Plural.
outstanding. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
shows.
we had had a couple of great shows. We went and played at Cheatham Street Friday night, and in San Marcos, it was damn near sell out. We had a great crowd whenever we jumped in. Absolutely, I mean, people piled up by the stage. It was cool to see that. Enjoying our music, and I mean, got nothing but compliments from band members. Got nothing but compliments from so many people that were saying, "Guys, this was probably one of their best shows they've played in a long time." And get to hear that from fans who know Carson and that crew. That was cool to hear from them. For me,
Look at you. Look at you.
Yeah, look at me. It's almost like I've been prepping for this.
Wait a minute. Oh wait, maybe.
No, wait, that's exactly what was going on. Anyway, so it was cool to see that, and then our full show in Plano was a lot of fun. So if you guys get a chance, and I'm going to go ahead and lay it out right now, this Friday, there's baseball. I will not be at the game because we're getting prepped for the game for our show that night. We're playing at 9:30 at Hurricane Harry's. It's going to be an absolute blast and a half. Y'all get your butts out there and come watch some music and listen to music and just enjoy a good concert, because Cody West and his crew put on a great show, and I like to think we're pretty salty ourselves.
Well, and worst case scenario, I know you'll be prepping. I'll give you my subscription password so you can watch Aggie baseball in case Harry's doesn't have it on yet.
Well, I'm sure they've been pretty good about putting stuff on, so I'll get a chance to watch the game.
I'll tell you what, I'll watch the first 3 innings and then I'll let you know if you need my password.
Oh, that's fair. Well, if you're feeling salty, get your butt out there, because I would love to see more people I know at the show. Come on,
that is both
Come
salty
on.
and froggy. No, this weekend I have to go play Army and I have to leave about 4 a.m. on Friday because my Army thing never ends. Yeah, I got a call today. I got promoted to first sergeant.
Yay.
Yeah, yay! It's not a yay promotion. So
Okay.
So if you guys need me, I'll be doing emails and clerical work for the rest of my Army career. Yay.
Yay.
But,
So
hey, look, either way, appreciate you talking about baseball, brother. I'm glad you didn't have to watch the other 2 games.
I'm glad I didn't either.
but it's baseball. So, I mean, you never know. I'm looking forward to the softball series. Man, West Ham won today, so I mean everything. I'm a little more positive.
I'd say Liverpool beat Arsenal 3-0. I mean, it was a great weekend sports wise.
Yeah,
outside of baseball.
Everyone should beat Arsenal except for us when we go 3-0 and end up drawing 3-3. Yeah, but anyways, so yeah, look, really appreciate you guys listening. Please go follow. Are there other Twitter or Instagrams for your band, Rob, that aren't yours?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Be sure to go check out. It's Carson. Then it's 2_ Jeffrey on Twitter. You can also follow him at Carson.Jeffrey on Instagram. If you look him up on Facebook, you should find him pretty quick. And we're always posting up with shows. We've got Harry's this weekend, but then we're going on a run to Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska next week. We're going to be doing stuff out in Stephenville before terribly long. I mean, we're going all over the damn place. So if you get a chance, follow us on our socials. We will be in your area soon.
And I would like to say, on behalf of all the fans, we are still waiting on some content for your upright bass.
Well, I'll be more than happy to post some when I get a chance to actually break it out and do something with it. 100%. I mean, it's cool. I love it. And I'm really hoping I get a chance to play with it. So, sounds cool. So we're pretty excited about it.
Well, I mean, you play bass, so you are cool. So you play
thanks,
bass. Man. The upright bass is cool. Therefore, it's a double cool factor.
Double cool.
But hey, thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, and look, I will never in a million years, and neither will Rob, talk about specific athletes at Texas A&M.
No.
Outside of Thing Moo, just posting another school record just for fun in the 1500 outdoors. I don't know if you saw that.
That's really cool.
She's insane. That's just completely insane.
All the positive stuff. We will trump up people on positives.
Yeah, she's not even a distance runner, and she's just like, yeah, sure, I'll run the 1500 and post a school record. But yeah, so share it out, give a bunch of likes, Apple, Spotify, all that stuff, right?
Yep, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Be sure to follow us on all those, and of course, make sure to follow Willie May 15 on Twitter, Rob the Slapper on Twitter, and of course us at RedAss Podcast. So, we appreciate you so much for checking in on us. We'll be continuing to post updates, more sports, more music, more everything. Hopefully, we can get some more additional content in addition to the sports here before long. I'm sure we'll sit down and go through some ideas. But
Rob doesn't know, but I'm already working on it.
Good. All right. Well, that's good to know. So we'll get that rolling, guys. This has been the RedAss Podcast. Thank you so much for listening again. Gig 'em, beat the hell out of Sam, beat the hell out of Bama.
Beat the hell out of everybody. Gig 'em.